You know that feeling when you finally get home and the door clicks shut, but the noise from the day follows you inside anyway. You sit down on the edge of the bed, and even though the room is silent, your brain is still vibrating with the friction of everything you did since morning. The emails, the forced smiles, the way you had to calibrate your tone for 3 different meetings. You're physically exhausted, but your mind is pacing like a caged animal. The day is over, but the mental static remains. You might find yourself standing in the kitchen, staring into the fridge without really being hungry. You reach for your phone before you've even realized you're doing it. It's an itch you can't stop scratching. You scroll through headlines or strangers' lives just to keep the quiet from settling in too deeply. It's not that you're looking for anything important. It's just that the alternative, sitting in a chair with no background noise, feels like standing at the edge of a cold, dark lake. We use digital noise to avoid our own internal silence. Think about the physical weight of being observed all day. It's a subtle tightness in your jaw and a shallow, restricted way of breathing. When you are constantly around people, you are constantly performing, even if you don't mean to. You are managing their impressions of you. You are a mirror reflecting back what they expect to see. After a few days of this, you start to feel like a battery that's been drained to zero, but you're still trying to provide power to everyone else. Constant social performance leads to a hollowed-out feeling. Then comes the guilt. You think you should be fine on your own. You see people on social media talking about self-care and me time. But when you actually have it, you just feel restless and bored. You feel a strange sense of abandonment when no one is texting you, even if you were the one who wanted to be left alone. It's a confusing, heavy cloak to wear, this need for connection that simultaneously wears you out. We are tired of people, yet afraid of the quiet. You feel like you've lost the instructions on how to just be without an audience. Anthony Storr was a psychiatrist who spent his career looking at how people tick. In his book Solitude, A Return to the Self, he takes a hard look at this modern obsession with relationships as the only cure for everything. We are told from birth that if we are unhappy, we just need to find the right partner or the right community. Storr doesn't say people aren't important, but he points out a massive blind spot. Our culture treats the desire to be alone like a red flag or a symptom of a problem. Seeking solitude is often misdiagnosed as a failure of connection. Storr suggests that for many of us, especially the sensitive or the creative, solitude isn't just a luxury, it's a biological necessity. Think of it like a reset button for your nervous system. When you are alone, the weight of the gaze is finally lifted. You don't have to monitor your face. You don't have to choose your words. Your internal organs actually begin to settle back into their natural rhythm. Alone, you finally stop managing other people's expectations. He explains a concept that hits home for anyone who feels lost when they aren't busy. He calls it the capacity to be alone. It's a skill, like learning to drive or cook. Most of us never learned it because we were constantly stimulated by school, work, or family. When that stimulation stops, we feel a withdrawal that we mistake for loneliness. But Storr argues that this quiet space is where your brain actually does its best work. It's where your own interests, the ones that aren't influenced by your boss or your friends, finally have room to breathe. Solitude allows your own genuine interests to surface. What does this mean for you on a random Tuesday morning when you're feeling overwhelmed? It means that your urge to hide away isn't antisocial. It's your brain trying to save itself from a blown fuse. Storr highlights that many of the world's most profound thinkers used solitude as a way to integrate their experiences. Without it, life is just one event after another, like a series of random notes that never form a melody. Reflection turns a series of events into a meaningful life. You don't need to go to a mountaintop to find this. It's about carving out a low-stimulus zone in your everyday life. It's choosing to drive without the radio for 10 minutes. It's sitting with a cup of coffee and looking at the wall instead of your phone. It feels itchy at first. It feels like your skin is too tight. But if you sit through that initial friction, something shifts. The static starts to clear, and you realize that the person sitting in the quiet with you, yourself, isn't a stranger after all. The itch of silence eventually gives way to clarity. What if that feeling of being totally burnt out isn't a sign that you're doing something wrong? What if that exhaustion is actually a piece of vital information your body is trying to hand you? Exhaustion is often a signal that your boundaries are leaking. You've been giving away pieces of your attention and your energy all day, and now there's nothing left for the person who matters most. You aren't a failure because you find it hard to be alone. You're just someone who has been running on an empty tank for way too long. You don't have to solve your whole life today. You don't have to figure out your 5-year plan or decide whether you're in the right career. You don't need a solution. You need a pause. There is no pressure here to be productive or to use your solitude to get ahead. Sometimes, the most successful thing you can do is sit in a chair and realize that the world hasn't ended just because you stopped participating in it for 20 minutes. Think of your mind like a glass of muddy water. If you keep stirring it, it stays cloudy and dark. But if you just set the glass down on a table and leave it alone, the dirt eventually sinks to the bottom. The water becomes clear, not because you did anything to it, but because you stopped messing with it. Clarity comes when you stop stirring the water. Your internal life is the same way. The answers you're looking for usually aren't at the bottom of a social media feed. They're waiting for the sediment of your day to settle. Let's take the weight off your shoulders for a moment. You are allowed to be unproductive. You are allowed to turn off your phone and let the messages wait. You are allowed to be a mystery to the people around you for a little while. You have permission to be unreachable. Let's pause here, not to think about what I've said, and certainly not to judge yourself for how you feel. Just notice the weight of your body in your seat. Notice the sound of your own breathing. Let yourself exist without needing to explain why. Simply existing is enough of a task for today. Now, let's take a few minutes to turn inward. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable. Breathe. Let yourself rest in this space. Notice the areas of tension in your body, your jaw, your shoulders, your hands. Ask yourself, what is one small thing I can stop managing right now? Imagine the noise of the world as a distant hum that has nothing to do with you. Give yourself permission to be completely unobserved for the next few minutes. When you are ready, slowly open your eyes.